Hello and welcome back to this episode of the Peak Results Academy. I'm your host, Rich Fournier, and in this episode, I sit down with Stephannie Wilson, a top producing real estate agent located in Indiana in the US. Now, Stephannie has been a #1 ranked real estate agent in Indiana for 5 years in a row, and she's a top 100 agent according to RealTrends. And on this podcast, we're going to talk about her journey from social services work to producing as a real estate rock star. Now, Stephannie explains how she manages to carry 60 to 100 listings at any given time as a lone producer. She also explains how she markets without paying for leads and what systems she has in place to keep her admin staff engaged in a crazy chaotic business. You don't want to miss this episode as she lays out the timing and content of her client touches and the underused platforms that bring her business. So stay tuned.
Have you ever wondered why some people thrive in all areas of their life? Welcome to the Peak Results Academy podcast with your host, Rich Fournier. Each week, we interview industry experts who consistently dominate in the fields of health, business, and beyond. Our mission is to share their personal struggles and strategies so that you can create your own peak results.
Hey everybody, Rich Fournier here for the Peak Results Academy podcast. I'm your host, and in today's episode, super excited to have a top 100, a top 90 agent in the entire United States, according to RealTrends, Stephannie Wilson, based out of New Albany, Indiana. She's with Schuler Bauer Real Estate. I'm super excited to have you with us today, Stephannie.
I'm excited to be here.
Stephannie, you know, I did intro you as a top 90 in the entire country. RealTrends ranked you top 90 in the country. You had you were just shy of 180 individual transactions last year. And if anyone is in real estate, they know, my goodness, it's hard to do 20. Never mind 100 and almost 180 transactions last year. Like, do you sleep?
You know, the funny part is I do. I have good systems. And I tell people that all the time. I have great systems that kind of allow me to kind of function. You know, there are weeks that I don't. You know, some weeks are busier than other. But yeah, I just have good systems in place. So it kind of helps me out.
Like, you know, when I communicate with agents or, you know, around the country in Canada and the United States, you're an anomaly. I got to be honest with you. You're an anomaly. And I mean that with like love. Like, it's unbelievable to do that amount of business. And you're in a small town, less than 40,000 people. I'm sure competition is fierce. And before we get into the nuances of the real estate business, how long have you been in the game for?
This is my 15th year. Not
40 years, not 30 years, 15 years. You're top 100 in the country. And you have a bunch of people that work for you now, or is it just you by yourself?
Yeah, so I'm the only agent. I don't have a team, but I do have 3 admins. One person is strictly just all that lovely paperwork, and then the other 2 are marketing. Just that's all they do is marketing.
It's all they do is marketing. That's a really interesting thing, and I'd really like to get into that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
As you know, this podcast is about why is someone creating a peak result when other people don't create a peak result in a particular industry. You're doing some extraordinary work, and I always wonder what makes you so special, to be honest with you. Like, what is that magic sauce?
You know, for me, in starting out, I didn't know anything about real estate when I started out. I kind of did it just on a whim. I had somebody sell my house. It kind of like everybody else, you think, oh, I can do that. And so I got into it, and it was a lot harder than what I thought. But, you know, I've always been one. I think the big thing is, and it's probably easier to do it in a small town, is to build relationships. And I always strive to do that. And sometimes it doesn't make you money to do that. Sometimes you take a loss in doing that. So I've always been very blessed in kind of building those relationships. And then my follow-up, I have, you know, for 15 years, I have every 3 months sent out some kind of what we call them now pop buys. And I stay in touch with my people because I don't want them to forget about me. I don't want them to, walk into an open house and not think, oh, I like this house. I want to write with you. I want them to call Stephannie. And so that's really what I've worked and strive to do, is build those long-lasting relationships.
And when you first got started, did you have an amazing, huge database that someone gave you? Something someone gave you to promote yourself?
Not at all. I came from 20 years in social services, and I just got burnt out on that. And I decided I was going to go back to school and I had an associate's degree. I wanted to get my bachelor's degree. And so I did not at all. But I will tell you, I'm one of those people, and everybody in this area laughed. Like when I started, I did 3 open houses every weekend for 12 years. I did one on Saturday from 12 to 2, Sunday 12 to 2, 2 to 4. I would rush from one to the other. And unless it was a holiday weekend, I didn't miss a beat.
Wow. Work ethic is extremely important. How many hours would you put in a given week now?
With this current market, I put anywhere between 60 and I would say 80, sometimes 100. It just really depends on kind of what you do. I discovered during the pandemic that I am a workaholic. And so everybody kind of said, I'm going to take advantage of that. And I thought, I'm going to go crazy. So I actually worked extra hard during the pandemic, reaching out to people, doing things, using social media, just to kind of, work.
It makes a lot of sense. When you got started, so you did all these open houses, and then did you start, 15 years ago, online leads were not a thing at that time. Mm-hmm. Today, do you utilize technology to generate prospective clients online?
I have never paid for leads. I have an issue with that. Sometimes I hate to pay for something that I've already generated. So really, I live off referrals. I use social media a lot. From mainly Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, those type things. But I've discovered that I have a business page, but most of the business I generate is off my personal page. So I try to keep it, some personal, professional, where I don't drive people crazy, and no political, nothing like that, to stay safe. Right. And that's where I really generate a lot of my business. Every week I watch other people's Facebook, and I do 25 to 50 handwritten notes every week that, Joe had a birthday, Mary lost her father, and, and I write a note and I say, hey, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I don't say I want your business, but I put my card in there. And that shows people you care.
Right. It sure does. I'm really curious about what you do on Facebook to generate business. A lot of people use Facebook just to post and say hi, or they take pictures of their dog. And how, do you have a systematized process to create business on Facebook?
I would say my business page definitely is systematized. We use Hootsuite, and I keep anywhere from 60 to 100 listings at one time, all the time. And so, we kind of generate, obviously, rotating those. We always like to put good positive articles out there, informational articles. And on my personal one, I just try to get people to interact. Like on Instagram, I ask questions. I get involved. And I think, you can't just put, in my opinion, is you just can't put things out there and then expect people to respond. You got to figure out a way to get them to interact, and then you in turn have to interact on theirs as well. And so that's been my biggest resource.
That's super difficult to spend the time commenting and playing in someone else's space in social media. That I find very difficult to find the time to do that.
I will tell you, I used to actually teach the new agents here, and the first thing I taught them is, in this business, no matter how busy you are, you have to time block. You have to time block that time to blog. You have to time block that time to use the social media tools. And you have to say, I'm going to spend 2 hours this day, no matter if it's in the morning or in evening, depending on my schedule, and doing that. Because if you don't time block, my biggest saying is never to get too busy working in your business that you're not working on your business. That's what I tell everybody, because you may have 10 buyers that you're absolutely going crazy and you get accepted offers, but if you're not continually kind of working on your business, then the next month or the next month, you're not going to have business then, and you're not so it's kind of, you got to learn that system. But time blocking is and I still do it to this day. My number one key is I have to do that. And I have certain things that I have to get accomplished every week. And it may be, I've got to get it done on Monday, and it may be I can do it in the morning or in the evening, but I got to make sure that I do it.
What gave you the faith to come from social services to jump in the game of real estate where there was no guarantee of any income whatsoever, and to start doing open houses and have faith that you're going to do business? I'm assuming you have responsibilities financially.
Yeah. I was terrified. We were actually had a house for sale. We had built a house. We had 2 mortgages. And, I just, anytime I do it, I just put my head in the game, and I'm always, it's kind of funny. I look at now what we can do on marketing, but, back then the day I had one of those old science boards. I had, put little flyers on there, and I thought I was really innovative, I was terrified. I worked a morning job just to put gas in my car because we really couldn't afford it. And I'm blessed with a wonderful husband. We just had our 29th anniversary yesterday. So he supported me 100%. And then, it just kind of seemed like right about the time I was ready to give up, I'd have another closing and it'd cover my bills. And then I have another closing. And, it just kind of, it spiraled from there. Sometimes I look back and I think, I don't even know how this grew, but it did, and I'm just super blessed. That's why I think the thing I consider is, it's, I always try to keep myself in check and realize that as quick as it comes, it can go away. So how do I, continue to maintain and to do that?
It does require a lot of faith to jump into a game where these are big transactions. It's not like buying a cup of tea. And I'm assuming there was lots of competition when you got started as well.
Yeah, there was. When I first got started, there was a ton. We kind of had that market crash. It kind of leveled back out, and then it kind of. I think I see a trend of, with the way the market is. I think there's a pool of us that are crazy busy right now. There's a lot of people that didn't use the time during the pandemic. I mean, I'm going to say wisely. And so they're struggling right now. And so I think we're going to lose out. I think it's going to slow down some. I do 2 states. I have Indiana and Kentucky. Probably only 5% of my business is in Kentucky, and then the rest of it's in Indiana. So
now you mentioned you carry 60 to 100 listings at any given one time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. When I have 60, I feel low. Like I'm low right now.
Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. All right? Like, I think you're going to blow some minds up here in Canada. An individual agent holding on to 60 to 100 listings on their own. Communicating with all of them, and you tried to do 5 offers yourself this weekend.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's just kind of, it's so funny, like in forming those systems, and it's nothing special. It's just, how I do what we do, and staying consistency in this job is so important. It's so easy to manage. Like when we get a listing, we know, like, okay, where it starts at, our initial email to the seller, to setting everybody up on all their reports and what they're going to get from us. And then, we touch base with them every 2 weeks on the phone, and then we, do a monthly report. And so, of course, having wonderful admin really helped, because I could never do that on my own. But, kind of that consistency, and, even if their home doesn't sell, they know exactly what I am providing for them, because I do residential resales. I have 2 builders. I do commercial, and I do land as well. So I kind of do all of that.
And what percentage of your deals would be resale as opposed to new construction?
Probably about 75%.
75% resale.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. That's because it is substantially more work to do resale.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And I'm very blessed. Like I said, I don't have to, I don't go canvas neighborhoods. I don't pay for leads. All of my resales come from really referrals. And then we do a lot Facebook Marketplace, that type of thing, those type of leads. So that's kind of, I think it makes it easier that I don't have to spend the time to go out and get them, because obviously that takes a lot of time to do. And so it's kind of nice when you get to the point where the business comes to you. So.
Right. So let's kind of go back just for a minute. So you started off doing 3 open houses every single weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming you would have taken their phone numbers, emails, and names and put them into a marketing CRM system of some sort at that time?
Yeah. I have always been where I like to do the touches myself. Like, I do not like those automated monthly newsletters type thing. I do use New Panda that does send like a monthly newsletter, but everybody, and I have several thousand people in my database that I every quarter send some type of pop-by. And again, it's usually some type of thing, and it's kind of like, hey, if you're thinking about or selling, give me a call. It's something creative. It's kind of funny. This last time we came up with an idea that it was this card with a bee on it. And it said, the real estate market's going to be okay. And we sent out honey sticks with it, And so we try to make it like it's not one of these automated letters that people send out. We make it as personal as we can, and people appreciate that. And when you do that, people tag you in Facebook and they say, hey, we love getting your stuff. Like, I'm taking a listing next week, and it was one of my very first sales 15 years ago, and I've literally sent them something constantly, and they're like, we would not think of using anybody else. And it's because you stayed in touch with us.
That's amazing. So your stay in touch mechanism, super hyper focused, very important.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that new business from old business constantly.
Yeah.
And so when you look at what an agent could do today
mm-hmm.
in COVID, so I'm not sure if open houses are allowed where you are today. I know where we are, the Toronto market, they're not allowed today.
They just started back for us on a kind of like a safety standard.
Yeah.
But, one of the biggest things that I've seen, it's kind of funny how this trend has gone back. For the longest time, years ago, people used to send out cards and they, would stay in touch. Then we got into email and texting, and basically everything kind of became impersonal. One of the things I think people want today is people want personal. 100%. I think people are missing that, that personal touch. And so I think, and I don't care what market you're in, letting people know that you care, and just, saying, hey, I literally went through my database, and the people that I knew were living on their own. And I literally sent a card to them, handwritten note that said, and just a little thing in there with a mustard seed that said, I want you to know you are not alone. You are not alone. If I could ever do anything for you, please let me know. And we got huge response with that. So I think the biggest thing I would say in today is, I think CRMs are great, and I think all of these things are great, but I think people need kind people, and people need to know that you care. And to me, I think that's the trend that's really going to get people more business. I truly think that.
Yeah, people don't care what you know till they know how much you care about them.
Exactly. And then people appreciate, obviously, what you know. But, you have to perform. You got to, come to the table when it happens. But I think, when deals are going wrong and you make it, not personal to the point that you're taking it home, that they know you're not just selling their house, that you care about them, you care about, that type of thing. I do. I really think that it makes a difference, and it's made a huge difference in my business. And, we have something here on our MLS that's called a client portal. And so it's, you can set people up to receive houses automatically. And I think I have about 800 people right now that I have on my portal that, again, they may not buy right now, but I'm sending them homes, and everybody that I meet, I ask them and I put them in there. But again, that's kind of the consistency in the system that I do. And so if they're finding out about a new house, they're finding out about it from Stephannie. They're not going to Zillow. They're not going to Stephanie's letting them know. And so I think, again, that consistency on that, but then the personal touch is just super, super important right now.
So I find that really interesting. Instead of, what you've done, you said, even though if you're never going to buy a house, or maybe you're just kind of interested in an area, would you be open to me sending you new things that come into that market? It doesn't matter when you're going to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not, so you've really sidestepped Zillow.
I have. And the thing is, and I tell them, I'm not going to bug you. I'm not going to call you every week and say, hey, are you ready to buy a house? I'm going to send you these listings. At any point in time you don't want to look anymore. Let's say you bought a house. You hit unsubscribe and you're done. And I tell you, I may have 4 or 5 unsubscribed a year, but that's it.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's the average resale there for you?
I want to say less than 200,000.
Wow. So 180K around there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you look at your admin stuff. And by the way, I so appreciate you. I know we're getting a little granular inside the real estate business, but I think it's important to give some of our listeners context, because when I interviewed someone a little while ago who's just shy of 300 individual.
Wow.
Guy's he did 500 with an admin staff of 9.
Wow.
And that's, but we don't see those numbers up here. Like, we have teams up here in Canada that, do 500, 600 deals, but they have a team of 60. 50.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah.
So plus admin. So, to hear an individual agent doing almost 200 is unheard of where we are at. And I'm trying to figure out why. I'm trying to understand that is an absolute peak result. So if I get too granular, let me know, because I'm trying to understand how you operate. So you have admin staff. You're the only one on the deals. It's your face. And you have one person who does all the paperwork. And then 2 people that all they do is market. So let's talk about those 2 marketing people. What does they look like?
So I have one that's just a wonderful designer. Like, we do a flyer for every house. We do kind of a listing packet for every house. And we create these with, in the go, of course, the information about the house, the information about the neighborhood. And we have that available, at the listings where we can email it automatically, that type of thing. So that's what they do. The commercial that gets a lot more, a lot more intense on what we put together. So, as soon as we get a listing, we add it to Facebook Marketplace. That's actually, believe it or not, I have a daughter who is just in her first year in real estate. And she's always like, can I be on your team? I'm like, no, I don't have a team. But she
do it on your own, kid.
I know. But she literally just lives off my Facebook Marketplace leads. And we could get 30 or 40 of those a week.
You take the list, put it on Marketplace, and then people inquire on
Marketplace, Craigslist. And then we actually have a list of websites, whether it be commercial or residential, of places that the syndication doesn't hit. And so we have a big list we will put them on there automatically. So Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and about 5 or 6 other for commercial. And we have about 5 or 6 other for residential. And we have about 10 different ones commercial that we have to enter manually. And we have to update manually any changes or anything like that. And so that's kind of really, then our system kind of starts on, how we market it, the new listings. Again, I literally do, of course, not myself personally anymore, thank goodness, about 30 to 40 open houses every weekend. So I have a lot of agents who don't have any business that are looking for business. So then I coordinate all of those open houses. And so, we put the signage out, and then we do all the marketing. We tag them in Facebook posts and that kind of stuff. And then so we make sure that, and that's another thing, I kind of say is somewhat of a seller pleaser, because everybody likes, around here, they like open houses. Ironically, Indiana open houses do great. Kentucky, not so much, So anyway, so we coordinate 30 to 40 open houses every weekend. So that person kind of does that as well. But, a lot of people don't think about using LinkedIn or Google business. I mean, I've gotten quite a bit of international business from Google, my Google business page, and using that as well. And so we just kind of have those systems that as soon as we get a listing, we know where to populate that and how to get that going.
And so when you look at coordinating those open houses for other agents, have you thought about just adding to your team then?
No, I have to tell you, I think I would probably be one of the hardest people to work for. And because I just like things my way. And what I discovered is, and this is not anything, I have yet to find somebody that wants to work the way that I work and as hard as I work. And you know what? The other people that are working that hard are other top producers who wouldn't want to be on a team with somebody, So again, we've been, I think this is our 5th year being number 1 in Indiana. And then we've been about 4 years of being in the top 10 in ERA nationally as well. So
unbelievable amount of business. I'm still in awe of what your production is. If you were going to advise an agent today to get started in this game and be able to not only survive but thrive in the future, what should they do to begin with?
They need to work their sphere of influence. I was teaching a new agent one day, and he was really struggling. And then one day it hit me. He owned an insurance company, and I'm like, have you reached out to everybody that is in your business here to tell them you're a realtor? Like, no, I didn't think about that. I'm like, so the first thing is people are so worried about getting new business, but I think it's so important for, your sphere, put that sphere together. Who can you tell that you're a real estate now that trusts you as a friend or a family member and, or an ex-coworker that would think about you in the real estate business. So that's the first thing I'd tell you is to come up with a marketing plan to your sphere. One of the things I tell new agents all the time, I said, go on your social media and say, hey, I want to give you a present. If you send me your address, I'm going to mail you something. And then I said, a lot of people have this huge return, and then really I did that, and I mailed people a 4-leaf clover and with an Irish blessing. So the thing is, they think I'm being nice, which I am. However, then I am taking all of their information and then locally, if they're local, storing it, and then now they become part of my pop by. I'm one of those people that say farm a neighborhood to get started, but people crack me up. They'll go one time, and I'm like, no. You go, like, you would farm that neighborhood for 3 months. You would knock on doors until you talk to people, and you leave things, and you talk to people, and then once you've hit every door, some of them, 20% of them may say, go away, never come back. That's a great learning lesson on how to, tuck your tail and accept that. But I mean, just work in your sphere, whether it's your neighborhood, your family, that type of thing, and then work on the new business part.
When you, it sounds like you're willing to do the hard work that some people aren't willing to do. Like, I mean, you're willing to get out there to promote and market yourself with no guarantee of doing a transaction.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems to be the differentiator. You're willing to do the small, detailed work to develop a relationship over time. And
yes.
You have absolute faith that somewhere, somehow, this business will come.
When you're consistent with people and you're honest, and sometimes you help them out without an expectation at the end. I can't tell you how much referral business I get from somebody that maybe was a for sale by owner, and they just needed a little bit of advice that obviously wouldn't get me in trouble, but just a couple of questions. And, I say, what, hey, here's where a good place for you to market at, do these things. And then if it doesn't work, I would love to help you. And so, just give them a little bit of advice, and you would not believe, even if they sold it for sale by owner, when they have a friend who's looking for a realtor, they say, call Stephannie. She helped me out, even though she knew that she wasn't going to sell my house. And so, and sometimes you want to kick yourself, being like, but I mean, it gets you business. It really does get you business.
Right. When you look out, do you see technology and companies like Zillow, Trulia, and are they, Redfin is another one. Do you see that iBuyer programs picking up steam where?
I think there's going to be a lot of people who try it, but I think one of the things that they're going to discover, we have a company here that's kind of like, it's I'm not going to name it, but it's kind of like we'll put it on the MLS for you for, $200. And then of course, me as a buyer's agent will go sell their house. And then we do 1,000% of the work because they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And they don't have an agent over here that's going to help them.
Right.
And so I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a lot of people who are going to try it, but really are going to realize very quickly that we are not just collecting a commission. We really do know, and we have systems in place to support them and have their best outcome and to keep them out of trouble, And I think it may pick up some because there's a lot of people who are going to go, hey, I don't need an agent. But I think there's a lot of people who are going to realize very quickly that just having a presence there and having that support is going to be what they need. So it may pick up, but I don't see it being long lasting.
How do you keep yourself so motivated, after, doing almost 200 deals last year? How do you keep it going again? Like where do you find this strength of character to keep going?
I just wake up every day hitting the floor and just, take my time to meditate and go, okay, this is going to be a good day. And even though I wrote a lot of offers and didn't get them this weekend, which, like I said, I'm a sore loser, I go, what am I going to do to, work harder, work smarter? What can I do, to help these clients that didn't get them? But I just wake up every day and think I'm motivated and I have to stay positive. And if I didn't stay positive, then I couldn't keep it up. I think there's some good that always comes out, even if it's a failed deal. I mean, what can we learn? What can we do? How can we keep it positive? And I think that once again brings business back to you, because people, if they see you during a difficult time, that you're not expressing your feelings towards the other realtor or the transaction in a negative way. If, like I lost the deal last night, the buyer lost their financing, and I say, you know what? My seller, it wasn't the right buyer. Maybe, you took, we're taking a loss here. Like, let's look at it this way. And, it gives us time to fix these items. So just try to take everything that happens and try to turn it into a positive. And I stay that way with my staff and just in life in general. So.
Last question on the granular stuff. Your staff, are they on salary or are they contract?
They are contract with bonuses for every closing that I have. So that motivates them. That motivates them to obviously what we can do together as a group to have more closings, because the more closings we have, the more money they make. And so that's been hugely successful. Right.
And have you had to adjust that over time, or has that been
That's pretty much worked. During the pandemic, it was interesting. I knew I was losing a staff, but she was only going to be with me for a year right as the pandemic started. But my right-hand person, who I absolutely adored with me for 6 years, gave me her notice. She just said she couldn't take real estate anymore. It was too stressful. And so, a lot of it sometimes is the bad attitude, things from other people, And so anyway, so during the pandemic, on top of everything else, I had to Zoom interview and hire new staff and stuff. I was a wee bit stressed then. We've got some learning curves right now, but the great thing is and I have 2 new staff have said, walking into having those systems in play, like we know what we need to do. I'm kind of one of those obsessive people, like every transaction, every scenario, there's a binder for that, so I'm kind of one of those people. And so, but it's definitely has worked, and it makes people, I think, work harder because, when you have a week that you have 15 closings and they're like, holy cow. And I'm like, yep. So let's work to have this next week and the next week. So yeah.
Unbelievable to be able to handle that amount of volume with that limited staff and brand new staff. Is there any other advice you can give agents today to, if they really want to push to get to your level, what would you tell them to do?
I would say sit down and open up to a top producer, and hopefully they'll be open to you. And I'll do that with any agent. And, I get a lot of agents who are like, why would you share all of this information? Because I'm like, come into my office, look how we market. Like you can, look at every bit of it, 100%. And people will say, why will you do that? And I'll say, I will be honest with you, because only 5% of you will actually use it and use it consistently till you become successful. And I think that's the big thing. And I will tell you, the big thing is don't get discouraged. Just because, you try something, it doesn't work the first week or the second week, you have to implement it. Nothing happens overnight. And people are always asking me, and I'm like, look, I wish all I did was sit down and eat bonbons all day long. But, I still have to do what I do, and you just have to do it consistently. And some weeks it pays off and some weeks it doesn't. But just because it doesn't pay off, I still do it. I still consistently do it.
And I think there's this misconception out there, because teams are all the rage where we are. And everyone wants to start a team. And I'm like, sure, those are very unique characters that can run a team. But most people running a team are still working really hard.
Yes, we have a lot of teams here, and I think a lot of more people are opting to do that. And like I said, I would rather have my money go towards my admin than do that. And I think there are some teams here that are hugely successful. I just know for me, that's not where I think I like to have that one-on-one relationship with my buyers and sellers. And one of the things I've discovered with a team around here is, because let's say one person writes an offer with the buyer, then the next person deals with the home inspection, then the next person deals with this, and the next person does the closing. They don't form a relationship. So a lot of times when they're going to buy their next house or something, they don't have a specific relationship. And so they'll come to an open house and write an offer with me. And so that's kind of why I like to do, and I'm a control freak too, if you ask my husband. So.
No, I think it's your story and your messaging is resonating with me, because I've talked to other people in the U.S. who subscribe to your theory, and they're very successful too. They're doing a lot of business, and they're very happy, but being front and center with the client. Right?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine any other way.
Right. Sounds like you really enjoy what you do.
I do. I love my job, and I love getting up and coming to work, and I love my staff, and I enjoy, and I look at it as not just, obviously I've been blessed financially, in this career, but I just look at it as, something that how else can you not enjoy? You enjoy what you do, and you make the kind of money that you can never dreamed you're going to make. So you put those two together, and that's good.
Have there ever been points where you were like, I'm done, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah, that's usually when I take a road trip. And I'm kind of one of those random road trip kind of things. We'll fly out west and drive home. And there are just times that there are times that you just, and I think that's the hardest part in this is there's times that you just can't please everybody. And that's where I learned to really depend on kind of like what my systems are, because let's say I'm not successful in selling a house, or a deal falls through and somebody's angry at me. I have to go back and look and go, did I do everything that I needed to do? And sometimes I go, you know what? I maybe could have done this better, and learn from that. And, kind of, admit to that person to go, you know what? I felt like I did this for you, but maybe I could have done this or whatever, and then not beat myself up and go, it's a learning lesson. And usually what happens if you don't sell it, then they'll list with somebody else and they'll lower the price where you said that it needed to be lowered, and they'll do everything that you said they need to do, and it'll sell in 2 days. And I'm like, really? But just kind of learning from that. But I think if you truly have the systems in place, like For every buyer, we know what we're going to do. For every seller, we know what we're going to do. For every investor, for every commercial, we know what we're going to do. And we do it consistently. And I think when you don't have those systems and you're always in this business, you can always be like this constantly. And the problem with that is, one, it's so easy to screw up. And then two, right, at the end of the day, people realize that you don't have your stuff together, and then they're maybe not going to use you again. And they're going to, a lot of times there's almost every deal, there's chaos in the background. 2% of the time my clients know about it. The rest of the time I work with the loan officer or the other realtor or somebody to try to fix it before it gets to the client. And I think that's really important too, is not letting the client know everything we do in the background.
Right. Controlled chaos in the background's always there.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I appreciate the time you gave, and, you bring a unique perspective to this real estate game, and to create a peak result in this game where, NAR is saying less than 90% churn in the game of real estate. So 90% of agents will be out of the game within 5 years.
Wow.
And here you're producing at a level that is unheard of up where we are. I think there's one guy that I've interviewed near us that, is around your level by himself with some admin. And you're bringing a brand new perspective, just so you know. You're helping people see what's possible, right, in their life. But something that's has become more true for me is that you must really love what you do. If you don't, there is no way that you can perform at this level.
No, you couldn't, because I know realtors here that say, I'm turning my phone off at 7 p.m., which is great. You've got to, I will tell you, I am probably not the best, and thank goodness I have a loving husband, at saying, trying to turn my phone off at 7 o'clock or whatever. This is a 24/7 business when you're dealing with the most people, the most expensive thing they're ever going to do. And I just think, again, letting them know you care. It's not just about you're making your commission. It really helps. It really helps.
I appreciate you very, very much. You're an outstanding realtor, and you just give your information so freely. So I appreciate it. If someone wanted to reach out to you today, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Definitely via email would be the best. And I'm always so happy to help and share anything that, we can help. I always say there's enough business out there for everybody, and especially in all these different markets and things. So email, if you definitely want to share my email, I'm always so happy to do that. Maybe
one day I'm just going to have to fly down and be a fly on the wall and watch you work.
Yeah. And you'd be like, she's crazy.
Well, thank you so much for being you. I really appreciate you. Have yourself an amazing day, and good luck out there post-COVID.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you like what you've heard and you're interested in seeing if you are fit to work with Peak Results Academy, here's what I want you to do next. Head over to peakresultsacademy.com/call. That's peakresultsacademy.com/call and book an appointment to speak with our team. We'll get on the phone with you for about 45 minutes and get you crystal clear on 3 things. Number 1, what do you really want out of life and your business? Number 2, what is not working for you today? And number 3, the exact strategy you should be using to create massive change in these areas. Remember, changing your life and creating massive results does not happen by itself. You need expert guidance to make it happen. We're helping clients all over the world create peak results in their health, in their businesses, and in their personal lives. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to peakresultsacademy.com/call. We'll chat soon.